Hi, Dr. Dan Miller, Historical Solutions, LLC. It's the follow-up video that I promised you, a thank you video, along with a couple other pieces of information from our session. Thank you for your time and attention and your energy last week when we discussed Easy Company and the fallout of rollout, and we followed their experience from the beaches of Normandy to Berlin, Germany, in 1944 and 1945. It was a good session, I thought. Good session. A couple things I wanted to share with you in addition to thank you. Number one, didn't know if we didn't really get into this at all, actually. But if it seemed to you like that Easy Company and the 101st Airborne were just everywhere, just dragged from pillar to post in terms of having to perform military operations, conduct military operations, respond, provoke, all of the other kinds of things that you can think of that they did. I mean, if it seemed like they were having to be everywhere, you're exactly right. And it's not just because they were so good at what they did, that they were so good at those kinds of specialized airborne or emergency response types of operations following D-Day and on up through the surrender of Germany in the spring of 45. There's another fundamental reason that we often don't hear about when we think about World War II and we think about Band of Brothers and other kinds of things like them, and that is especially where the 101st Airborne was concerned, or the 82nd Airborne. They were in very short supply and thus in high demand. And the reason they were in short supply is because the administration of Franklin Roosevelt and some of the political and military leaders associated with him made a decision to try to fight the war using pretty much just the minimum manpower requirements. I think there were about 5.5 million men in uniform over the course of 41 through 45. I believe that's right. Both in the States and in Pacific and European theaters. But that was pretty much the bare minimum. And they decided that, I think, because they wanted to minimize, control the impact on American society at large that the war had, at least from the standpoint of draining away men and women from civilian life. Maybe there's a political reason in that too, but the fact of the matter is that they allowed numerous exemptions in terms of job type, occupation, physical kinds of restrictions, numerous exemptions from the draft that was used. Therefore, a fairly small percentage of the available forces went into active service overseas. And what that boiled down to, by the time you get all the way down to Easy Company in the 101st in 1944-45, is they've got to do an awful lot of things, probably too many things. There's probably too many demands made on them. So you see that stress begin to take its toll. I think we saw it in our conversation that we had from about 44 to 45. So that's one thing historically we didn't get into that you might not be aware of is they were stretched to the limit because we decided to only barely meet the limit of military manpower requirements. So that's that. Secondly, I wanted to share with you something just regarding leadership that I think came out of our session, and I'm not sure I articulated it very well in the session. For all of the project planning, for all of the project execution and rollout and consequences and all of those kinds of things, you really see in 44-45 with Easy Company and Dick Winters, you really see the value of a leader on a day-to-day basis. Aside from any plans, aside from any kind of preparation, at any given moment, it's that personal individual leader on the ground. And there's dozens of others we could cite from Easy Company in addition to Dick Winters. Dozens of other leaders who made the key difference, forgetting anything else that happened. That's something I think you need to be aware of, and I think you need to ask yourself, am I being that key leader at Hancock? Am I being Dick Winters at Hancock on a day-to-day basis with the fallout of rollout? So there's no way to plan for that other than to try to prepare yourself from your own personal leadership. But by thunder, it seems to me you need to ask yourself, am I filling this gap that has to be filled and that only I as the leader can fill? Good question for me too. I don't just mean that it's you. So think about that. It's been great to chat with you again. You know the drill, I think. Go to my website, historicalsolutions.com. Look around, hang out, send me messages if you want. Love to have your feedback on this session, on other things you think I ought to be thinking about. So send me an email or give me a call. One thing you know at the end of the day is that I definitely wish you all of the best. Thanks again.